Passé quelque peu inaperçu à sa sortie en 2007, le premier épisode de The Darkness possédait pourtant tous les ingrédients d'un bon FPS. Le jeu se démarquait en effet de la concurrence par sa violence poussée au maximum, son histoire mettant en scène un héros torturé et son gameplay qui permettait d'utiliser à la fois des armes classiques et des tentacules à la puissance démoniaque. En plus de permettre aux joueurs d'achever ses ennemis de façon magistrale, les tentacules pouvaient être utilisés pour effectuer quelques interactions avec le décor bien pensé. Une idée originale qui n'a d'ailleurs jamais été vue ailleurs et jamais revue depuis. Ou plutôt jamais revue jusqu'à maintenant, puisqu'un deuxième volet, sobrement intitulé The Darkness 2, vient tout juste de sortir. À cette occasion, nous avons rencontré Sheldon Carter, le directeur créatif du jeu, qui nous a rafraîchi la mémoire sur la fin du premier épisode, avant de nous donner plusieurs éléments concernant le scénario du deuxième.
First Darkness game was about Jackie Estacado being a hitman for the mob, and on his 21st birthday, he inherited these powers of the darkness. The same time he got the powers, he had a fallout with the mob that resulted in the mob killing his girlfriend, the one person that he loved. And so Jackie used these incredible new darkness powers to go on this rampage of revenge, and he killed the mob, and that's kind of where the first game left off, kind of with Jackie using the darkness like crazy. It almost felt like the darkness took him over, and that's where the game ended. So what we revealed is basically over the next 2 years, Jackie suppressed the darkness. He kept it down and wasn't using it at all, up until the events that start our game, in which a group called the Brotherhood attacks Jackie and says they want to take the darkness from him. So that's kind of the setup of the external conflict of the game. Internally, Jackie is still struggling with the fact that he let Jenny, his girlfriend, die, and he's still struggling with her memory and kind of her ghost to some extent. So that's kind of the internal struggle of the game, and that's where we're at right now.
La situation a donc évolué depuis The Darkness 1. Mais ce n'est pas la seule chose qui différencie le premier épisode du deuxième, on vous parlait dans notre preview des graphismes en cel shading qui tranchent radicalement avec le style plutôt réaliste du premier volet. Sheldon Carter nous en dit plus sur ce choix artistique.
So when we looked at the art style for the first Darkness game, we thought, it looked really great at the time. But for us, when we got the franchise, we started looking at the comic books. We said, what's the source material? What does it look like when you're reading through tons and tons of these top cow beautiful comics? And all we saw were these splashes of color, hard lines, really contrast filled images. And we thought, how can we make it feel to you when you're playing the game like you're playing a graphic novel? So that's where we came up with graphic noir, which is what we call our art style. And we really hope that being true to that comic book roots will give the player, a new level and a new understanding of what the darkness is.
L'arrivée de cette nouvelle direction artistique, très proche des comics dont les jeux sont issus, n'est toutefois pas la seule innovation. Au rang des nouveautés, on compte aussi l'apparition d'un mode inédit, le mode Vendetta. Une aventure bonus, jouable à plusieurs, pleine de révélations par rapport à l'histoire principale.
As you play through the game, there's collectibles called relics, and every time you get a relic, you actually get some dark essence, which is the way we channel that into our progression tree in the single-player game. So when you move that over into multiplayer, we have a co-op multiplayer. It's called Vendettas, and it's a story. It's a full story campaign that you get to play through with all by yourself if you want offline, or with up to 3 other players. And in that campaign, you play as one of 4 players that actually has found one of these relics and uses it to have slight darkness powers. So you might be Inugami, who is this kind of wandering samurai. He's found a relic that's called the Kusanagi sword, and it gives him one of Jackie's powers, which is called Swarm, but it also lets him use other darkness powers, lets him use the blade to cut up enemies, and he's in conflict with the Brotherhood as well. So in this parallel story to the single-player campaign, you're playing, like I said, this kind of wandering samurai character, and finding out more information about him and how he relates to the darkness as well.
Déterminés à réconcilier le grand public avec la licence de The Darkness, les équipes de Digital Extremes semblent vouloir peaufiner leur jeu au maximum afin de proposer aux joueurs une aventure originale, longue et surtout très riche. Un souci porté au détail qui s'est traduit par un report de la date de sortie initialement prévue pour le mois d'octobre dernier. Sheldon revient sur ce report et les difficultés que lui et son équipe ont rencontrées lors du développement.
The release date change, for us it was just fantastic. It just meant we could do more polish on the game, and so it was pretty exciting for us that we got more months to work on this game, because I think it's a much better game because of it. In terms of challenges for developing this game, I think there's a couple places where We spent a lot of time making sure we got it right. I think one was kind of the controls and making sure that it felt really fluid to be able to control both the demon arms and guns at the same time, and trying to make that mix and layer it on for players so that it never became overwhelming. So that was something that was a pretty big challenge, but I think we were successful there. The other thing would be with the graphic noir art style, because it's one of those things where you see something in a comic book, you say, hey, we want it to look like this. Hi programmers, can you guys write something that'll make the game look like this for us? And they tried, but it turned out that nothing beats the hard work of a huge team of artists. So each of our artists went through, they hand painted every texture in the game. It was a big challenge, but again, we're really happy with the results.
Avant d'être le directeur créatif de The Darkness 2, Sheldon Carter a travaillé sur des projets tels que Dark Sector et BioShock 2, deux titres originaux, fourmillant de trouvailles et de concepts ingénieux. Nous lui avons donc demandé en quoi cette suite se différencie des autres FPS qui, depuis quelques temps, semblent avoir opté pour le créneau guerre moderne et réaliste.
It's really three things that we have that going for us that I think people are really going to attach to once the game comes out. I think the first one is the story, and I think, if you want a narrative experience, if you want to play a first-person shooter that's actually going to make you feel something and have a great story experience, that's the first thing we want you to have when you play The Darkness. The second thing, though, is the demon arms and quad wielding. I think you don't have a lot of first-person games that have that kind of melee. You're not able to grab enemies and rip them apart and slash them at the same time as using guns. And I mean, we have a true dual wielding system, so you're not just kind of using the same two guns. You can mix and match an Uzi with a Desert Eagle, or however you kind of want to play. And lastly is the art style. I think it looks like a comic book. It's gorgeous, and I think that's really going to stand out.
Avec son double système de visée, ses finish moves carrément gore et ses scènes d'action plutôt réussies, la version preview de The Darkness 2 a clairement fait l'unanimité au sein de la rédaction. On attend donc avec impatience la suite des aventures de Jackie Estacado, que les équipes de Digital Extremes nous promettent énormes. Alors, est-ce que la version définitive se montrera à la hauteur de nos espérances? Réponse dans 15 jours avec la critique classée 18+ du jeu.
We've come for the darkness, Jackie.
You want it? Come and get it.